Welcome to this week's There's a Book in My Nook. It's been kind of a while since we've done this. We had lots of stuff going on and holidays, so we're going to start it back up again. And the first book that I'm going to talk about is Compulsion, and this is by Martina Boone, and this is the first in, I think it's going to be a trilogy. It's called The Heirs of Watson Island. And it starts off with the main character, her name is Barry, and yes, it's a girl, but her name is Barry. And she has just had the death of her mom, and her mom was kind of a recluse. She stayed shut in the house because she'd had really bad burns to most of her body. And she raised Barry, and then her friend, who was a guy, he was going to take Barry when her mom died, but he has cancer and he's dying also. So there's no one to take her. So she finds out, unbeknownst to her, that her mom had a sister and relatives in North Carolina that live on this plantation, and that's where she's going to go to live. What she also doesn't know is everybody thinks that her mom died in this fire. She's had no contact with anybody from that hometown or from her family, and they all thought that she died in the fire, along with Barry's dad, who did die in the fire. So she goes back and she finds out that Watson Island is where this plantation is, and her aunt's name is Prue. And she's a little odd acting. She's excited to see her, but she acts a little weird. And she finds out that there's two other plantations across the river from the plantation that she's at. And these families have been connected through the years, and supposedly there's a curse on these families. The three starting generations of these three families, there's I'm trying to think of their last names. The Beaufords, that's one of them. I can't think of the other two. The Watsons, the Beauforts, and there's one other family name. I can't think of it. They were all friends, and they were all pirates together. Well, one double-crossed the other two, and they had a curse put on them. Two of the families, the ones that didn't do the double-crossing, actually their curse is kind of, you could say, a gift, not so much as a curse. One is Barry's family can find things. All her life, if anyone has lost something, she's been able to find it. It just has a pull to her to look for lost things. The other family can tell what people want. It's not like reading your mind, but they can tell your desires, which you could think that could come in handy. If you had a job, you'd know what your boss really wanted. If you're in a relationship, you'd know what that other person really wanted. But the third family that has the curse, their curse is that they will always want what the other two families have. They will always be jealous of these other two families and feel a yearning for something they can't have. So she finds all about the curse, and she's determined that she's going to break it, because also part of the curse is that her aunt cannot leave the plantation. Once she goes too many miles from the plantation, she gets these awful headaches. So she wants to break this curse, and she's also getting the headaches now as well. It's like the plantation is pulling her in. She ends up getting a relationship with one of the heirs of one of the other plantations that's across the river, and they become romantically involved. And then her cousin is actually from the plantation that's cursed. So they're all intertwined. It's their story. I really like that it takes place in the Deep South, and it has a lot of history and tells a lot about the plantation days. And I found that really interesting, and I think it'll be a good series. I definitely will read the other ones. Karen's shaking her head no.
No. Sounds very, very confusing.
It's not confusing. For me, it wasn't confusing. I liked it. I liked the connection.
You lost me after about the 3 sentences. I thought, no.
I like the connection of the 3 plantation families, and that it goes back all these generations, and I really enjoyed it. And it's a young adult book. And if you like kind of the historical, I don't know, Southern books, another one that's been really popular is Beautiful Creatures by Cami Garcia. They made a movie of this, and this is the story of Lena, and it's about her family. No one lives past the age of, no one past the age of 18. They have to decide if they're good or bad, and they don't really decide. It's decided for them, and it's about her family's story, about how it's kind of like a curse with them too, and she falls in love with a boy that has been from another family that they've also been intertwined through history. Like I said, there was a movie. The movie was okay, but the book's really good, and there's, I think, 4 books in this series, and there's even a spin-off of this series called Dangerous Creatures, which is about her cousin and her life. So that's a good one, and we have both of these here at the library. And another one is, this is one we don't have here at the library, but it's called Sweet Unrest, and this is by Lisa Maxwell. It also takes place on a plantation in the South, and it's about a girl who, her family, her dad has gotten the dream job, and his job is to be a curator of this plantation. They all moved down there. Ever since she's been really little, she's had dreams, and these dreams are about drowning. She doesn't know why, but she's always had these dreams. And this is, when she goes to this plantation, they become more and more vivid. And one of the people that was in her dream, she starts seeing this person at this plantation. To find out he's not even real, it's a ghost from the plantation. And how in a past life they were connected, and that's why she's had these dreams. And she's got to rectify the situation, that there was no closure in their lives. And there's some people that really don't want her to do that. And that's the story. And her, I'm trying to think what her main name is. Her name is Lucy. So this is her story. So I liked all three of them. I've read all three of them. They're good. Supernatural, Southern history, voodoo, and a lot of them, that sort of thing. Huh? That's all we have to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
They don't sound like books that not my kind of book. I love historical fiction. I absolutely love. In fact, I'm totally enthralled in that Outlander series.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting ready to start the third book. I absolutely
And
love
it's
it.
supernatural.
Not supernatural
Time
in that way
traveler.
where they have dreams and all that kind of stuff.
Past life is what the one's about. So yours is kind of
Well, actually, that Claire in the Outlander, she actually still living her life, but in just different times.
So
but
see,
it's still,
that's
she doesn't have a past life.
But still, I mean, it's still time travel, kind of in a different way.
Yes,
So.
yes, it is. I did read a kid's book, but
But what?
I read it so fast, I really couldn't tell you much about it.
Okay.
It is called It's Winter. I will tell you that. It's called
who's
It's
it
Winter.
by?
And it's by Linda Glazer. And I do have to say that it talks about all the wonderful things that you can do about in winter. And since winter is my favorite season, I've been putting out a bunch of snow and winter books out. And finally, it has snowed here. And so now it doesn't seem so weird putting these books out.
It's a pretty cover. It kind of catches your eye.
Mm-hmm. And it talks about, how all the animals that she goes out and sees and how she puts out bird seed for the birds to feed in the wintertime and the noise that it makes when she, crunches in the snow with her boots and all that. It's a very winter book. I mean, when you read it, you can't help but feel winter. It's just, and for anybody who's a big fan of winter, it's a great book.
A lot of kids like winter. They find the snow magical, and I think winter for kids can be really exciting.
Well, they hope that they're not going to go to school.
And there's snow days and holidays.
They're hoping for snow days is what they're hoping for.
You're not the only one hoping for snow days. Let me tell you. Okay. My turn?
Yeah.
Okay, the next book that I read is Perfected, and this is by Kate Birch. This is a really wild concept for a book. I will tell you this. Let me try to remember what her name was. Hold on just a second. Switch my notes. Her name's Ella. Okay, but first she doesn't have a name. This is about a future society where girls...
At first she doesn't have a name.
She doesn't, and I'll explain that. This is about a future society where girls are bred in kennels like dogs. And their job is to be pets.
That's a terrible book.
It's a good book.
No.
So her whole life, up until they're 16, she has been bred to be perfectly poised, beautiful, dressed
when
very
you say
well.
it's pets for who?
For the rich and wealthy and
to
privileged.
do with what?
We'll get into that. So only the top society, richest people, once a year, they get invited to a showing of so many of these girls that they're 16. And they are they're able to be purchased for whoever they want.
What happens if you're born a boy?
They only do girls. They're
So what do the
genetically
boys go and
bred.
do? So what
They're
are
genetically bred, so they only make females.
Okay.
Yeah. So
In
it's
test tubes or what?
It doesn't really tell you if it's in test tubes, but just like, you can pick the gender of a child if you have enough money. It's like that.
Right.
But I'm assuming this is more test tube. Yes, they don't talk about mothers or fathers, and they're
Okay.
never with a family. From the minute they are born, they
But
are.
do the rich people do it? Are they normal? I mean, are they a normal family, like husband, wife, kids?
Well, you think they're? I mean, yeah, as
Okay,
normal as a family can be.
are they
Yeah.
portrayed as a
Yes.
normal? Okay,
Yes. A lot of them are politicians,
okay.
and they made the one who actually this kind of he's the one who buys this girl who becomes Ella. He's the one who got the law passed that you can own these girls and their pets. He buys her for his daughter, who was 11, as a companion.
How old are they when you buy them?
I think 16 to 18. They're
And
right
then you
through
can
there.
name them whatever you
Then
want.
you name
as
them
a
whatever
pet.
you want, and
Okay.
they all vote, and they name her Ella.
Okay.
And her job is to play with the daughter, to be the daughter's friend, to
At
entertain
16,
her. Yeah,
for an
like a
11-year-old?
babysitter.
Oh.
She's like a nanny or permanent babysitter,
Okay.
almost like a doll in some ways, because the girl will dress her up and have her dress up in certain clothes because she looks so pretty, and they all are beautiful girls. Okay. Well, you find out not all the owners have the best intentions. Some of the male owners have other ideas for the girls, if you can get my idea. And she finds out that she's not the first pet this family has had. They had another pet, and they don't really talk about her, and she was sent away. And Ella doesn't understand why there was another pet. Am I going to be sent away? These girls are very, very naive in a lot of ways, almost childlike. They know only what they were taught to know. They know nothing about reproduction. They know nothing about love. They know nothing about they don't know how to read. Those things they found, that's not what they're to be. They're to be pretty. They're to be, for a lot of them, showpieces. It's like show dogs, you could say. So that's why it shows her like in a cage. Well, she starts talking to this guy who bought her, the senator, his son. And they actually become friends, which the senator does not like. And the son feels really bad for her that this is her life and she knows nothing else. And they fall in love. And he wants to get her out of this life and for them to run away together. She then uncovers the reason why the other pet was sent away. I don't want to tell you that because that's going to ruin the story for you. You'll have to read to find out if Ella gets out of the family, if she even wants out of the family, because not all pets do. Some pets love the family that they're in and that they're lavished gifts upon and treated like royalty. So it just depends the lifestyle. But it was a very different concept for a book. And I could see in some ways in the future this could possibly happen. People
Are
that
you
have
serious?
Oh, definitely. It's almost a slave in some ways if you think about it. It's like legalizing slavery. Think about that.
Just females, though?
Yeah.
I mean, they can't do any work or anything. I mean,
Well, they could if that's what you wanted them for, but they do work in a different capacity. Like he has these huge lavish parties. Well, each of the girls has to have a major talent. She's a pianist.
mm-hmm.
She was trained to be a concert pianist. So she entertains the guests. She serves the guests the food. She's a pretty, hostess. So they all have different things that they do. And it's almost like
But it's all within a house. I mean, it's not like they go out and become lawyers or they go
Oh
out
no,
and
they
become
cannot do that.
doctors or
They
anything
cannot
like
do that. They belong to this family. And in fact, at one point, she gets in trouble, so they chain her up to the wall in the room so she cannot leave the room. Like a pet. Yeah.
Okay.
So we have this here, and that's in young adult. And some of the others that were kind of futuristic about other societies and along that line, labs and stuff. This one's the Rules Paper Doll Project by Stacy Cade. We do have this, and this is the first in a series. And this is about Ariane, and she was also created in a genetics lab. And she is part human, part extraterrestrial. They've combined her, and she is put into a high school to blend in with other kids. And she's kind of like undercover.
For what?
I haven't read this one. So she says she's in Wisconsin. Oh, her father doesn't. Because she's part human, part extraterrestrial. Her adoptive father decides he doesn't want her to be used for what they use them for. So he puts her in a high school and wants her to pretend to be a normal teenage girl and have a normal life. And there's people from the lab want her back, and they're looking for her. So that's what this one's about. And then there was another one called a Sinner series. This is called Branded. We do not have this one here at the library, but it is in our system. And this is by Abby Kettner. And it says that 50 years ago, the commander, came into power, and he murdered everybody who didn't go along with what he wanted. And he made the society up of 7 deadly sins that were the downfall, he thought, of society. And to punish anyone that he thinks is guilty of these sins, they created this hole, which is this hole, and it's a place where you're sent like a huge prison, and the sinners are branded. See the brand she has around her neck. And they're forced to live basically there in these deplorable conditions in this hole the rest of their life, and they're watched by guards who will kill them if they step out of line. She is branded with lust. I don't know why. Something happens that she says a crime she didn't commit, and now she has to be in the hole.
Did you read this?
No, I have not read this one. Her name is Lexi, and this is about how she was unjustly branded with lust, and she's in the hole, and she's got to try and escape. And this is her story. So no, I have not read this one, and I have not read this one. I've heard of this one, but I have read The Perfected that I talked about first. But I thought these were similar to Perfected.
Mm-hmm.
And these are all young adult books.
And what about Perfected made you want to read that?
I just thought the idea, actually, Anne, who also works here at the library, told me about it. She thought it was a different concept for a YA book.
Had she read it?
No, she hadn't read about it, but she had read about it on a site. She has a site that she looks at different books coming out, and she told me about it. So I ordered it once I read about it and thought, some way some people kind of are kept as pets in a different sense of the word. I mean, you have, not trying to offend anyone, but you have token wives, if you think about it in a way, kind of are pets. And you have slavery, which is another kind of form of pets. And, you have girls that are now stolen and used for all sorts of things. And that's kind of what that reminded me of, only they've legalized it and tweaked it a bit.
Right.
And I just found it as a very interesting concept. Imagine being someone's pet.
Right. And as a society, that's what my point was, is as a society, we look at that as an awful thing. So why would you want to read a book about it?
Why did I find that intriguing?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
A lot of things that are awful we find intriguing as to, not that I want that done, but that
Right.
concept. I mean, you've never read a book about slavery? Yes. And you find slavery horrible, but you stored the book about it and found you want to know about it. So that's kind of what this was. I wanted to see what their life's like, what made somebody be able to have a pet? How was this legal? What was this concept of this society where they had pets?
Okay. Okay. From the juvenile department, I read the book, Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library. This is on the New York Times bestseller list, and it's about it's written by Chris Grabenstein, I believe. There was something else. He's written some other books. Oh, he's written the iFunny series with James Patterson. So he decided to do his own book here. And this is about Kyle, who is a 7th grader and who loves to play games. He's a freak about playing games, especially games made by this Mr. Lemoncello, who is a very famous game maker in the sense of like a Willy Wonka, who makes
chocolate
candy. He makes games that are wacky and crazy like Willy Wonka. Well, Kyle's hometown has been without a library for about 12 years. And Mr. Lemoncello has decided he is going to come to this town and he's going to build a library based on his love of books, but also like a board game, sort of like, so that he can get kids interested in books.
Okay.
And so he decides he wants, like Willy Wonka sent out the tickets, this Mr. Lemoncello is offering to spend the night in the library where you get exclusive first look at what the library is going to be like. And in order to win a ticket to the library, you have to write an essay on why you're excited about the new public library coming to town. So Kyle kind of missed that when the teacher gave that announcement. And so when he gets on the bus the day that you're supposed to hand in the essay, his best friend, who is a girl, says to him, so what did you write on your essay? And he's like, what essay? And so she says, well, you have to write an essay in order to spend the night at the library. And Kyle's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to write? So he quickly scribbles something down on a piece of paper. And it consisted of one word sentence and then about another 3-word sentence at that. And you'll have to read the book to find out
What he wrote.
what he wrote. But let's just say it was intriguing enough that Mr. Limoncello decided to give him a ticket to the library. Okay, so they all go to the library. And they spend the night. Well, on the next day, I kind of can't remember. Yeah, after a night at the library, they're about ready to leave, and Mr. Limoncello says, I've got a game for you guys to play. You don't have to play it. You who want to leave, go ahead and leave. But you who want to play this game, I'm not going to tell you the game until you decide that you want to play. So all the kids are like, well, most kids say, yeah, we're going to stay. So he tells the game. The game is, you have to find a way to get out of the library, but it can't be the way you came in. Which means it can't be by the front door, it can't be by a window, and it can't be by a fire escape. Where he's building the library, it used to be where the old bank stood. Okay. Or it was an old bank building. It's next to an old, I can't remember if it's the actual bank building or it's next to the old bank building. Anyway, Mr. Limoncello says, you got to find a way to get out of the library. He says, now for those of you who now have second thoughts and want to just leave, go ahead and leave. And of course, someone was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not blah, blah, blah. But you only get like 24 hours to do it. And the winner of the game gets to be Mr. Limoncello's spokesperson for his commercials of all his new board games that'll be coming out for Christmas. Because this takes place a week before summer vacation from school. And so you'll have to read it because Kyle ends up forming a team. And he's against this really snobby rich kid who never ever loses at board games, just like Kyle never loses either. And you'll have to, because it looks, just when you think Kyle's going to lose.
So they got a rivalry going on.
And Kyle being the board game champion, competitive person that he is, you'll have to see. As I put in my notes, you'll have to see if Kyle's able to beat this game. It's very, very, very
I've heard good things about that book.
It's very good. It is. I wish all libraries were like that. If all libraries could be like this, I don't think you would have kids begging
to be in
their parents to go to this library. Begging. They have holograms. Librarians as holograms. That, from when the old town library that was tore down was still around, the very first librarian that was there, they have her as a hologram.
That's cool.
And it is so neat. And during this game, they have, it's almost like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? You can ask an expert questions. You have 3 lifelines, sort of like, and you can ask the old hologram librarian questions. It is so cool. I just wish every library could be like that. It would be absolutely amazing. Now, to be a librarian and work in that library, it might be a little
difficult.
Yeah, just a little. But I think for a kid, it would be, I think it would be a life-changing experience. I really do. I truly do. This movie I watched a long time ago. This is not, at the time I watched it, it was one of the most popular DVDs being rented. I think it was on there maybe for 2 days, and I caught the day that it happened to be the popular one. It's called Timmy. And it stars Melissa McCarthy. It stars Susan Sarandon as her grandma. It stars Kathy Bates as her cousin. Dan Aykroyd as her father. Allison Janney, who plays on that TV show Mom, plays her mom. And then Ben Falcone, who is actually her husband in real life, directed the movie, and he plays her boss in this fast food restaurant that she works at. And that's what Tammy is. She's married, and she works at this fast food restaurant. On her way to work, she's always constantly late. She's always finding excuses of why she's late. She's just not one of your model employees at this fast food restaurant. And on her way to work one day, a deer hits her car. And so she, finds an alternative way or patches up her car. I can't exactly remember. But anyway, when she finally gets to work, and of course gives the same excuse that the reason why she's late,
late.
blah, blah, blah. And they say, you know what, we're tired of your excuses, you're done. You're fired. And she's like, okay, fine, you're going to fire me. And then, of course, she takes all the hamburger buns and she licks them and tells everybody that they're contaminated now and that they've been using dog food and just, that the place is unsanitary and blah, blah, blah in front of all the customers and everything. And they're just trying to get her out the door. So she drives her old beat-up car back home and come to find out she walks in expecting to... tell her husband of her woes and he's going to comfort her. And here he's having this romantic dinner with her neighbor, who's this very good looking, skinny neighbor girl. Mm-hmm. And so Tammy's like, you know what? That's it. I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm leaving you. She walks 2 doors down to her parents' house and says, I'm going to go. Well, she says to him, I'm going to go live with my parents, which is 2 doors down from where she lives with her husband. And so she's like, Mom, I'm leaving. I just can't take this anymore. I'm leaving town. And her grandma, played by Susan Sarandon, says, you're not leaving without me. And Tammy's like, I'm not taking you, you old bag, blah, blah, blah. You're just going to hold me back and blah, blah, blah. And you might die on me and blah, blah, blah. And the grandma says, well, I've got about $6,000. Okay, you can come.
That changed her mind.
Yeah, it changes her mind. They don't tell you this in the plot when you review it on TV, but there was one time when she goes back to her old employer and she's wanting money to leave town. This is before her grandma suggests to give her money. Mm-hmm. And she goes and robs him. She's going to go rob him. She's going to slit her boss's throat. Well, she does. She goes and slits it. She's saying that she left something in the safe before she left that night. And so he goes into the safe. And as he's leaning over into the safe to look, she slits his throat. But she didn't slit it deep enough that he's able to call 911. And they come and he's able to identify her because she thought he was going to die. Oh. And, so she kind of pretends to come into the stop for something anyway. That she gets arrested but they don't. The guy decides not to press charges, and then that's when she goes back home, and then she's going to leave town with her grandma. And her and her grandma go on this adventure, and you'll have to watch. I mean, there are some funny parts. There really are some funny parts. But let me just tell you, this movie, I think I got a 4.6 out of 10.
I really like her though.
It's dumb.
Is it? Yeah.
It is dumb.
I really liked her. Now,
it's just all over the place, and it's just dumb.
Yeah, there's a lot of actors and actresses in it.
Yes, they have a lot of good people in it. It's just
Now,
dumb.
did you see Identity Thief that she did with Jason Bateman?
No.
Now, that was really funny.
And I heard it got terrible reviews.
I really enjoyed that movie. Yeah, I thought it was really funny.
I'm just telling you, unless you're a huge, huge Melissa McCarthy fan.
Which I do like her.
Don't rent it. Like I said, unless you're a huge fan. I mean, I didn't even see this advertised on TV.
Oh, I did. Yeah.
I didn't. Mm-hmm. I didn't hear anything about it.
Yeah, I did.
I think people who are fans of the Mike and Molly show thought that when they saw this.
And when I have to admit, I don't know if you ever watched Saturday Night Live. We are huge Saturday Night Live watchers at my family. My family is, and she hosted it one. I don't know. It's been quite a while ago, and I think it was one of the best ones they've had. She is one of the best at slapstick comedy. Yes. And what I mean by that is the falling down. I mean, she is really good. I mean, if you liked on the Three's Company, Jack Ritter, you know what I mean? Was it Jack or John? He played Jack. It was John Ritter.
Right.
That sort of falling down, tripping, that sort of thing. She is amazing at it. She had on super high heels for the Saturday Night Live, and she was doing all sorts of things. I was really shocked.
Well, a lot of people here are comparing her to Lucille Ball.
Yes, she was.
How Lucille Ball used to be.
One of the best Saturday Night Lives. I mean, it was really, really good.
Yeah, I used to watch the Mike and Molly show. I've watched it.
My
just a
husband
big
loves
fan.
it. He will.
And she
DVRs it.
Now, and I wasn't a big fan of the movie about the bridesmaids that she was in.
I haven't seen that. I know people loved that
show.
I
have seen it, and I
haven't seen it, but I know a lot of people loved that show. I mean, it was a huge deal.
I know. I have a cousin who she owns it. I mean, let's watch it. No, let's not. No, I've watched it once. That's more than enough for me. No, but like I said, unless you're a huge fan of hers, skip that movie. Music-wise, I haven't heard this song, but the top radio and pop song is Blank Space by Taylor Swift.
Amazing
And you're
song.
not even a Taylor Swift fan.
No, I'm not. I love this new CD she has.
It's 1989
It's
is the
totally
name of the
different.
album,
And you've got to watch the video.
which has her Shake It
Off.
Shake It Off.
Love this
on
song.
it, yeah.
Love it. Love it.
Blank Space?
Yes.
So you've heard it?
A
Have you heard it on the
million
radio
times.
or you've listened to it?
I bought it.
Really?
Yes, for me that's a lot. I have
Is it a
listened
love
to
song? Is it a
It's
like,
about-
is it like Shake It Off?
It's
Is it upbeat?
It's upbeat in a way. It's about when you first meet someone, the way you put on who they maybe put on who they are that they really aren't. You're this wonderful, everything's great, and then everything goes south, and that's kind of what it's about.
Really?
Yes, and it is so good. The video's amazing. Love it.
I'll have to. Because usually when I look at these, I just did this today because like I've been in La La Land since we haven't been doing
Yeah.
the blog. I've been slacking, to use a different word.
You know, I'm a YouTuber. I watch
yes.
YouTube.
But that's
all the
usually what I
time.
do. When I find out what the popular songs are, and then I go on YouTube and I'll watch the video.
You gotta
and listen
watch
to the
this
song.
one. Gotta watch it.
Wow. Now I have watched and heard the Carrie Underwood, which is the Top Country, which is Something in the Water.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. It's a religious song.
Right.
It's a very, very good song. I guess it's one of the more popular religious songs out now too. And that's on the album Greatest Hits Decade #1, Carrie Underwood, and of course hip hop. And I've heard this song too. It's not a bad song. Yeah, I could do without all the language in it, but that is actually the name of it is I Don't Blank With You, and the name of the album is the same thing, and it's by Big Sean. And it has to do with the fact that, you know what, we're broke up. I'm not messing with you. Why are you messing with me? Which is
And he had a bad breakup.
Is that what it is based on? It must be based on the bad
He
breakup.
was engaged to be married to, I cannot think of her name, from Glee, who plays Santana.
I don't know. I've never watched Glee.
And he ended up breaking it off, and he is now with Ariana Grande.
Really?
Yes. And supposedly that was the reason. Supposedly they were seeing each other on the sly when he was engaged to, I can't think of her name, from Glee. But yeah, he's with Ariana
Well,
Grande
in my
now.
opinion, then what's he saying that? Because he kind of
That's what I think too.
Yeah, but that's what it basically says. You know, all these texts, all these calls you're giving me, I'm not. So,
I cannot think of what her real name is, but she plays Santana. I can't think of her name. And
as many times as you've watched Glee,
she plays Santana in Glee, but I can't think of her real
I know.
name.
I can't believe you don't know who
I
it
know
is.
it's one of the few that it just slipped my mind. I cannot think of her name. But anyway.
But so that's the #1 hip hop song because I'm sure a lot of people who have broken up can relate to that song.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's this week for There's a Book in My Nook.
And hopefully we'll be better
Yeah,
next
a little
week.
bit more prepared. We're a little lagging this time. We'll see you then.